HOA Karen cut down my heritage tree. Fined $200K and shunned by community. The day started like any other in our quiet suburban neighborhood. But by noon, it was the kind of chaos that makes you question humanity. I was sipping coffee on my porch when I heard the scream of a chainsaw, a sound so out of place it sent a chill down my spine. My gut told me something was wrong, horribly wrong. I'm Marcus, a high school history teacher who moved to Willow Creek 5 years ago to raise my daughter, Lila, in a place where roots, both literal and figurative, could grow deep. Our home sat on a quarter-acre lot, shaded by a 150-year-old oak tree that had been here longer than the town itself. It was a heritage tree, protected by law, its gnarled branches a living monument to the generations who'd lived and loved under its canopy. Lila called it Grandpa Oak, and every summer, we'd hang a tire swing from its sturdiest limb. That tree wasn't just wood and leaves, it was family. But Karen, the self-appointed queen of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, had other ideas. Karen was the kind of person who'd knock on your door at 7 a.m. to complain about a single weed in your lawn. She'd fine you for a mailbox that was too flashy or a car parked an inch over the curb. Her clipboard was her scepter, and her rule was absolute. Most of us tolerated her because fighting wasn't worth the headache. That morning, though, she crossed a line no one could ignore. I jogged toward the sound of the chainsaw, my heart pounding as I rounded the corner of my backyard. There it was, Grandpa Oak, half its branches already hacked off, sawdust flying like confetti at a funeral. A hired crew in orange vests worked fast, their faces blank, while Karen stood nearby, arms crossed, her lips curled into a satisfied smirk. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, my voice cracking with disbelief. Karen turned, her eyes narrowing like I was the one trespassing. "This tree is a hazard. Marcus, it's too close to the property line, and those branches could fall on my fence. I'm doing the neighborhood a favor." A favor. I stepped closer, my hands shaking. "This is a heritage tree. It's protected by law. You can't just cut it down." She waved a manicured hand dismissively. "I filed a complaint with the HOA board. They approved it. You should have trimmed it years ago." I was speechless. The HOA board. Half of them were her cronies, nodding along to whatever she demanded. I glanced at the workers, who avoided my eyes, and then at the tree, its massive trunk gashed and bleeding sap. Lila's tire swing lay in the dirt, severed like an umbilical cord. I felt a rage I'd never known, but before I could say another word, a neighbor, Mrs. Delgado, appeared at the fence, her face pale. "Marcus, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Did she really get permission to do this?" Karen scoffed. "Of course I did. Unlike some people, I follow protocol." Mrs. Delgado, a retired botanist who'd lived in Willow Creek for decades, shook her head. "That tree's on the city's protected list. You can't touch it without a permit from the municipal council, not the HOA. Did you even check for the first time?" Karen's smugness faltered, but only for a second. "I don't need a lecture from you. Maria, the HOA has authority here." I pulled out my phone, hands trembling, and called the city's environmental office. The woman on the line sounded horrified when I described the scene. "Stay there," she said. "We're sending an inspector now." As I hung up, I locked eyes with Karen. "You're going to regret this," I said, my voice low. She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "Regret I'm saving this neighborhood from your negligence." The tension simmered as more neighbors gathered, drawn by the noise and the growing spectacle. Mr. Patel, who ran the corner store, whispered to Mrs. Delgado, his eyes wide. "That tree's been here since my grandfather's time. This is a disgrace." Others nodded, their murmurs turning into a low hum of anger. Karen, sensing the shift, doubled down. "You're all overreacting. It's just a tree. There are plenty more." That's when Lila came home from school. She dropped her backpack, her eyes fixed on the stump where Grandpa Oak used to stand. "Dad," she whispered, her voice breaking, What happened? I knelt beside her, my throat tight. Karen had it cut down. Sweetheart. Lila's face crumpled, and she ran toward the stump, touching the raw wood as if it might still be alive. The sight of her grief flipped a switch in the crowd. Mrs. Delgado stepped forward, her voice sharp. You've gone too far. Karen, this wasn't just Marcus's tree. It was ours. Karen rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You're all so dramatic. But the crowd wasn't having it. Mr. Patel started recording on his phone, narrating the destruction for his followers on X. This is what happens when power goes unchecked, he said, his voice shaking. Karen thinks she owns this town. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A man pushed through the crowd, his face weathered and his clothes streaked with dirt. It was Old Man Jenkins, the reclusive gardener who lived at the edge of Willow Creek. He rarely spoke to anyone, but his family had owned the land our neighborhood was built on a century ago. He carried a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. This tree, he said, his voice gravelly but firm, was planted by my great-grandfather in 1873. It's in the town's founding records. You didn't just cut down a tree, lady. You erased history. The crowd fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Karen's face paled, but she tried to recover. That's irrelevant. The HOA, enough Mrs. Delgado snapped. You don't get to rewrite history to suit your ego. The city inspector arrived, a stern woman named Ms. Carter, who surveyed the damage with a look of quiet fury. She took photos, measured the stump, and checked her clipboard. This tree was registered as a heritage site, she said, her voice clipped. Its removal without a municipal permit is a felony. Who authorized this? Karen pointed at the workers. They did it. I just gave the order. The head contractor, a burly man named Tom, shook his head. Lady, you told us you had all the permits. You showed us an HOA letter. We trusted you. The crowd erupted. Shouts of shame. And you lied, echoing across the yard. Karen's confidence crumbled, her hands fidgeting with her clipboard. This is a misunderstanding, she stammered. I'll fix it. Ms. Carter wasn't impressed. You'll be receiving a fine notice up to $200 and $1,000 for violating heritage protection laws. And that's just the start. There'll be a hearing. The neighbors cheered, but I couldn't join them. Lila was still kneeling by the stump, tears streaming down her face. I walked over and pulled her into a hug. We'll make this right, I whispered, though I wasn't sure how. The days that followed were a whirlwind. The story spread like wildfire on X, with Mr. Patel's video racking up thousands of views. Hashtags like Joshi Justice for Grandpa Oak and HOA Karens trended locally, and Karen's name became synonymous with entitlement. She tried to spin the narrative at the next HOA meeting, claiming she'd acted in good faith, but no one bought it. Even her loyal board members distanced themselves, unwilling to be tainted by her scandal. Then came the hearing. The courtroom was packed with neighbors, local historians, and even a few reporters. Karen sat alone, her usual swagger gone. The city presented evidence photos of the tree's remains, records of its heritage status, and testimony from Old Man Jenkins, who brought his journal to prove the tree's significance. I spoke too, my voice shaking as I described Lila's grief and the tree's role in our community. It wasn't just a tree, I said. It was a symbol of who we are. Karen's defense was weak. She claimed ignorance of the law and blamed the contractors. But the judge wasn't swayed. Ignorance is no excuse, he said. You acted with reckless disregard for this community's heritage. The fine was confirmed $200 shucks and dollars to be paid by Karen personally, not the HOA. She was also ordered to fund a restoration project, planting new trees across Willow Creek to honor Grandpa Oak's legacy. The crowd outside the courthouse cheered as Karen left. Her head bowed, but the victory felt hollow. No fine could bring back our tree. Lila and I started a community garden in its place, planting saplings donated by neighbors. It wasn't the same, but it was a start. Karen moved away a month later. Her house sold quietly. Some said she couldn't face the stares and whispers. Others said the fine broke her financially. Either way, she was gone, and Willow Creek felt lighter without her. But the story doesn't end there. Grandpa Oak's loss left a scar, and it's up to us to decide what it means. Was Karen's punishment enough, or did she deserve more? Should we forgive someone who destroys something irreplaceable, or hold them accountable forever? I don't have the answers, but I'd love to hear yours. Share your thoughts, what's right, what's wrong, and what would you have done